A couple of other issues in dealing with promotion. In here I have the promotional mix. I have advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations. Those are generally the tools that we have for managing promotions. And I also have in there word of mouth, which is not something that you have control over, but it is an important channel for communicating with people, especially in the era of social networking. And in terms of the control that you have over your message, advertising, you have the most control because you say when it runs, where it runs, what it says, and who sees it. Public relations is, sales promotion, you have less control. You pass out the coupons. You don't know whether or not people are going to use them or not. Personal selling, you can train your salespeople, but you don't know exactly what they're going to say. That's why you have trained salespeople. And then the least that you have control over is public relations, and public relations is where you put the information out there and hope that the media pick up on it, hope that people see it and act on it. And then word of mouth is you have zero control over word of mouth. All you can do is provide information and hope people respond in the appropriate way. In terms of influence, it's just the opposite. So you think about that is I can control my message precisely with advertising, but it's the least likely to persuade somebody. The most likely to persuade somebody is word of mouth. And I have an example of this. I don't know if I've used it or not, but it's too good to waste. Many years ago, we had small children. We no longer have small children. And we needed to buy a vehicle, and we were looking at, please don't shame me, a minivan. All right, that was us. And so it's a high involvement purchase, so we did a lot of research on the minivan. We looked at different minivans, we looked at prices, we looked at brands, we looked at all of these things, and we made, finally after all of this work, we made the decision we're going to get this minivan. And then my wife called her sister and said, we've decided we're going to get this minivan, and her sister said, oh, one of those. Guess what we didn't buy? How did you know? That's a smart reason. But again, all of the research, all of the advertising, all of the marketing efforts that came to us, and all it took was one person who we trust, back then we trusted her, to say, oh. And the rest, so the idea is the most influential is word of mouth, the least influential is advertising, but you have control over your advertising. It's an interesting paradox. The last concept, and this kind of relates to what you were getting to earlier, is you have mass appeal versus individual appeal. Mass appeal is when you send the same message to everybody. The advantage of mass appeal is that it is economical to get the message out because you only have to craft the message once, and then all of the cost is just in distribution. And the problem is that most of the people who you are getting in a mass appeal aren't really interested in what you're saying, so you're wasting a lot of money communicating with people who have no interest in what you're trying to say. And that's best for just informing and reminding, getting the word out, but you're not really going to persuade anybody. The other side is a personal appeal. This is where you craft the message unique for each person. It may be involved two-way interaction. It might be a personal selling situation. And this is best for persuasion and for building relationships. This, again, is one of the areas where digital marketing has become so powerful because we have the ability now to machine generate individual messages, so we can create the appearance of communicating directly with you, but I can do it at scale, which means I can communicate individually with millions of people at the same time.
Sometimes it even looks handwritten.
Sometimes it even looks handwritten. It's just back in the days of, well, even today, is you get the email and it's got your name in it and it's got something that you posted somewhere else reminding you is, whoa, wait a minute. So anyways, to kind of get this into perspective, I have the various tools that we have for communicating, advertising, personal selling, public relations, sales, promotion, and word of mouth. And I've created a 2x2 matrix, surprise, surprise, surprise. And on one axis, I have paid versus unpaid. And on the other axis, I have mass communications versus personal communications. And we can kind of plot things out. Is advertising is mass paid communication. Public relations is mass communication. And I have it down here in the unpaid. When it's done right, it appears to be unpaid, but you have to spend money to get it. So if you get press coverage for your new product, you got press coverage. That looks like the press covered it, but you might have had to buy some cocktails in order to get the press to cover it. On the other axis, we have paid personal. That would be personal selling, where I have somebody who's paid to convince you. And then in the lower something quadrant, left or right, depending on whether or not you know your left from your right, we have word of mouth, which is personal unpaid communication, the most powerful form of persuasion. And again, that's not a tool that you can control directly, but you can try to create conditions where word of mouth is going to happen. And then kind of in the middle, I have sales promotion, because sales promotion kind of could be anything, kind of the junk drawer of promotion.